Paul is called to conversion and becomes an apostle to proclaim to all the nations the gospel. He is protected from his enemies and proclaims with his life that Jesus is the Messiah, God's Son. Paul was martyred in Rome, a Pharisee who became the apostle to the Gentiles. He is a patron saint of many, including the lay apostolate. We too must experience conversion in our own lives and then be ready to go out to all the world and tell the good news. God too chooses us from the world, as he chose St. Paul, to go and bear fruit that will last. Jesus is all about conversion, and he doesn't mince words. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved. Whoever does not believe will be condemned. Then he goes on to say that signs will accompany those who believe. Demons will be driven out. New languages will be spoken. Deadly obstacles will be overcome, and the sick will be healed. Conversion leads to glorification and new life. The process of conversion can be difficult, and St. Paul too went through a period of literal and figurative darkness when he was blinded by the Son, Jesus Christ. He was, in fact, blinded by his sin, and he was misusing God's gifts to persecute and to kill the members of the new way, Christ's very body, that seemed to him to be in the wrong. Because of his mercy, Jesus intervened in Paul's life and caused him in a deep and lasting conversion. This came about despite Paul's weakness and somewhat obvious failures, such as his overzealousness, or later, his inability to speak eloquently. His conversion also occurred through the trust of one of his enemies, a certain Ananias, a devout observer of the law, a follower of this new way that Paul was persecuting. Paul's conversion was also immediate, and he was asked, "Now why delay? Get up, have yourselves baptized from your sins, and your sins washed away, calling upon his name." Where are we today in our conversion? Presumably, we've all been baptized and have started following Jesus, some of us even in radical ways, perhaps even giving up everything we had to join religious life and to live as Capuchin friars. Have we, though, given up everything? Do we still hold on to our own opinions and ideas about how things should be? Do we still choose our own ways of doing things over what others are saying or even what God is calling us to do? Just how comfortable and thus unmovable do we become in our day-to-day lives? Are we listening and attentive to then be active to what God has for us to do? Conversion is constant, and it is very rarely comfortable. It involves sometimes quite literally turning around and beginning yet again to walk in the other direction when we have messed up, yet again through sin. How often do we go to confession? How often is enough to think about and strive to remember God is the only one who is sinless? How often do we realize our own personal need for conversion as we journey toward heaven? May we spend at least a little time each day pondering over our constant need for conversion and accept and receive God's infinite love in our lives. By his grace, when we come at last to be dying, may we find in heaven that we are abiding. May we not become too comfortable in our lives, brothers, to go without daily conversion.